Alrighty, ladies and gents, welcome. We've got some 1600 elo action. Last time we did 1600 elo action on the channel, we had longswords, we had bowyars, we had petards, and we had castle drop. So, I'm excited to see what this one will have. We have two very unique names. One name I'm not sure how to pronounce. The other one I'm not sure if I should say, but sure, let's go for it. In the blue, playing as the Mayans, we have MerTarsuslu. And in the red, playing as the Incas, we have Poop Sniffer. Yeah, that's right. And Incas Mayans, all right. Nice little regional matchup, sort of, kind of. At least competitively speaking, it always feels like the Mayans and the Aztecs are picked at the higher level over the Incas. The Incas do have some fun units to play around with, though. They have the Cameo, which I don't think will be very helpful here. And then we also have the Incas, the Slingers for the Incas, which can be helpful if we end up seeing some infantry from the Mayans. I think in terms of playing into straight archers, though, I think that, Mayans are just going to be superior, but Incas do have eagles, Incas do have skirms, and those are things that can counter the archers. Now, I love the Incas, and I have loved the Incas for years, and I'm not going to use this game and this opportunity to whine and complain about how they nerfed my boys, all right? But I think Incas as is are a little bit underrated. They have a lot of different options, and I think getting more population space in their houses is incredibly helpful in different ways. If you want to save wood to go for archers a bit faster, not having to make as many houses is helpful. If you want to make an early barracks in Dark Age, not having to make the extra houses is helpful too. And you can actually tell that Red, he's an expert on sniffing poop and also as with the Incas because he hasn't made his second house yet. That said, I would still probably just make the two houses at the start because I've tried this once and I just forgot to make the second house. So let's hope that he doesn't forget to make the second house. All right. Map-wise, maps look pretty good. I think I would prefer Blue's map. Blue's got the gold in the back. The walling here will be really easy. And it just seems very straightforward to kind of wall in between your wood lines here, which is what you want. For red, you could probably do the same. You probably just need to fight for a little bit more map control to protect your golds. But some players prefer to have their berries on the back and their gold in the front, because having your berries on the back is helpful if there's early militia. So 1600 elo, I'm trying to think in my brain, what are they good at? What do they struggle with? I think scouting is an area where 1600 elo players can struggle a little bit. Executional things, right? Like, all that stuff matters to a certain degree. Like, they might make the same amount of army as an 1800 or a 2K player, but they might not be able to micro as well or get to the right positions. But so far, the Dark Age has been pretty clean. I think I'd slightly prefer Blue's play. He's going for the early barracks here, so we will see a drush, as we call it. 2 militia. I can't help but laugh at my situation in life right now. Like, 10 years ago, I was 19 years old, right? And if someone pulled me aside and was like, hey, T90, I can see... No, they wouldn't have called me that back then. Hey, Tristan, I can see the future. Are you interested? Obviously, I wouldn't believe them, right? But I'd be like, sure, tell me. Tell me what my future is. And they'd be like, all right. Well, in 10 years, you will have been full-time Age of Empires 2 for about 6 or 7. Is it 6 or 7 I've been full-time? About 6. You'll have had this event happen, that event happen, which is crazy. Got all these people who watch your videos these days, and they have a really good time. I'd be like, you're crazy, that game's dead, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 this is a scam. But then they'd be like, but listen, this will make it more believable. On this day, in 10 years, you'll be sitting there talking about a player named Poop Sniffer. Are you excited about your future? And like... I'd be excited about doing the whole video game thing. I'm not sure about the whole name of Red. Blue having the worst possible thing happen to him for a drush and running directly into the town center. I did say that scouting is something that this elo struggles with. But if I know 1600 elos, I know they love to push in their deer. Bro, did you really just stay at home pushing more deer while you have the militia? Looks like you did. Well, I hope the deer's tasty. Anyways, we have walling from blue. All the walling and staying home for another deer. Oh, God. Now it's going back. It makes me think that blue might actually be trying a fast castle of sorts. And then red located the enemy. And red is also walling up everything, worried that the militia could do damage. Obviously, it's just half a militia at this point, so it really can't, but good execution there from red. And red's going to go man-at-arms, it seems. And try and kill as quickly as possible here. We have a deer being pushed in. We definitely want to see those walls come down here for MerTarsuslu. Probably butchering the name, but it's better than the other one. Still making villagers. Still needs a wall here. And the key with walling, guys, if you're going to wall, you want to play defensive, is you just got to get them down, man. Because if you spend all that time and all those resources walling, and there's even a one-tile gap, all of that time, all of those resources has gone to waste. There's the archer range opening then for red. Could slowly lose his house here. We'll pay attention to that. I didn't think I'd be saying this with the Incas, but red is actually housed. So red needs a new house here. But here comes red. Has 2 militia. That's it. Doesn't have a whole lot more, but we'll have an archer follow-up, and blue's not going to be able to wall this easily. So I'm thinking red needs to just keep this open, bring the archers forward, and be as aggressive as possible here. All right, so this isn't a coaching session, but horse collar is not a good idea here. First off, you don't have the wood to make a lot of farms, and that extra food and that extra wood would be helpful to get a blacksmith and get fletching for your ranged units. And you're in a position here where the way this game develops is the more damage you do over the next 2 minutes, the better for you. So just wanted to bring that up. Again, it's not a coaching session, but it's more often than not, you're not going to see anyone go for early horse collar, even at a high level, for like man-at-arm archer builds, because it's important to get the numbers of archers and the upgrades. And then they can get that upgrade a little bit later. So just wanted to mention that, but it is possible that in red's mind, red's thinking, I'm not actually going to do a lot of damage. So if I'm not going to do a lot of damage, then I might as well have better economy. And that could be a fair assessment of the situation, possibly. So here come the archers. And here comes one villager making a tower. And this is red trying to apply pressure. Archer range blacksmith for blue, and blue actually is going to have the resources to click up to Castle Age here. Also, militia might actually take out a house. How much farms that horse collar does he make max? So you can go the entirety of feudal age off an archer build without getting horse collar. And if you want to make it easy, just click get horse collar while you're on your way up. Because you don't need to have that many farms anyways to continue to produce villagers when you're making archers throughout the rest of the game. It is a little bit situational. But horse collar is like a... I feel like casters are a little bit to blame for it because we're always talking about eco upgrades and it's always on the screen. It's like horse collar, horse collar, horse collar. Like even here, he's getting horse collar. Like, let's say get your wood upgrade, but... Anyways, it's more so like early feudal with archer builds. I see a lot of players squeeze in that upgrade, and then they don't have fletching, and they don't have like archers, right? But it is extremely complicated, and I just wanted to point out that at that stage of the game, maybe it wasn't, he didn't need to rush it. But, you know, he maybe didn't feel like he could kill stuff, right? And if you don't feel like you can kill stuff, then opting for the eco is probably the right play. We don't see a blacksmith yet, though, for red. I really do feel like you're going to break through here. You're going to want fletching on your archers. But we're looking at 1600, right? And red's trying to do a lot of different things. Red is trying to wall up at the moment. Here comes red with more archers. Now, if fletching was in, that's an easy dive and an easy fight, and then blue could have some big problems. Blue's playing some risky games here. But red seems a little hesitant to move in here. He doesn't want to sniff blue's base necessarily. And blue immediately goes for the second town center. Dang. So I don't know if they know each other. Like maybe red is like the lower rated player. What's the elo? No, red is the higher rated player. just thinking, I don't know if there's a part of this that makes red hesitant. But sometimes it's easy to say when I'm watching what a player should and couldn't do, and not so easy when a player's playing to decide on what to do. Archers are there for red. Red is walling up at home. We'll kill the militia now. Red has gotten housed more than any Inca player I've ever seen. Is going to get pop capped again. he got pop capped more than the Mayan player. And we have Bodcanero on the way for blue. The reason that we don't see a lot of fast castling with archers these days from high-level players is simply because it's hard to have an archer mass with economy. So I'll be curious to see what blue can do with just 4 crossbowmen on the front. And red still no ranged upgrades. Red is fully walled now, and red is actually going to maybe switch into eagles here. I like switching into Eagle Siege when you have forward position like this. He has vision over 2 golds and a stone. So if you can somehow push out across the map, take care of this, make a siege workshop, and then pressure, it could be really strong. And blue trying to break in, again, only with 4 crossbowmen. And blue, I think in this position, blue's just happy to have this economy. The economy's not great, but it's definitely better than red's economy at the moment. Where the economy really starts to be strong is when you get your wood upgrade, and once your wood upgrade's there on 2 TCs with that many villagers as the Mayans, and you've got crossbows, it's just exactly where you want to be. So good reaction here from red to not freak out too much. Keep in mind, red can't even make a tower at home right now. So I think both players have done a good job in this game to recognize that their opponent's not actually going to do that much damage. It was a bit weird for blue. Like, red absolutely could, and some could argue should have done more damage a bit earlier in the game. But in this instance, it's correct from red to realize there's no way this guy's going to accomplish much. How did red shoot up to 95 pop space? Oh, those houses. Yeah, the houses. There we go. Okay. I watched those houses go up, too. Eagle Warrior's on the way, and blue is sending more crossbows forward. Does he know the gold is there? He doesn't seem to know there's villagers there. I'm pretty sure he could sit here and range some vills. He's adding another archer range, adding a few houses here, and is ready to push in and pressure this gold. The red's going to have about 7 eagles pretty soon. No Eagle Warrior upgrade right now, and no second armor. There's the Eagle Warrior upgrade. And yeah, blue, you seem like you love your crossbows here. You have to make a decision now on what you do, and I think while he could have maybe tried to force the fight, he felt like maybe it wasn't worth his time to do that, and he's going to back away as he goes for 3 ranges. He does a great job keeping his ranges producing. Great job from red to pull the archers away and just keep those eagles massing here. Villagers still standing over here. Still potential for an eventual siege workshop. The ideal is you clear this, and then you make the forward siege workshop. That could be really good. We're going to see TC number 3 right now from blue. And red's going to make more walls around another goal. And both players struggling in some ways with their economy. But at least, you know, for red, he's got slightly better eco upgrades. And then for blue, blue has more villagers. And you'd probably prefer to have the villagers, at least with this big of a gap, right? 57 villagers versus 43 is significant. Toasty says, should you mix in swordsman here for the eagles or just go full crossbow? Honestly, I think you just go full crossbow, and if anything, you mix in your own eagles with it. But the thing that has hurt red here is that he doesn't really have siege with the eagles. Blue sitting at home should prompt you to try and mix in siege on the front. But fully armored eagles and Castle Age have 5 pierce armor. Crossbows do 7 damage. Sorry, they do 7. Yeah. They do 7 damage, which means 2 damage to the eagles. So if you've got like 25, 30 crossbows, you're able to get close to one-shotting these things, which is fairly reasonable. And then if you get into plumed archers do +1 attack versus infantry, and then elite plumes do +2 attack versus infantry. So my point is you can actually move out with big crossbow numbers pretty confidently here, unless there's siege. Red brings the archers in. Archers still don't have fletching, so they've barely tickled those villagers. And here goes blue. And blue is moving forward with confidence. With this number, I'd love to see a university for ballistics. It feels like you have to prioritize that. And blue, oh, this is interesting. This is the beauty of being aggressive, guys. Because watch blue freak out. He's like, do I go home? The real experienced players are going to wall and damage control in towards the TC at home, and then they go forward with the crossbows. But I think when your opponent's army's out of position, you go right in. You don't be sneaky behind wood lines. You just bust right through there. There's no way he can have that much army if he's at your base with this much. So great aggression from red. He must be thinking, where is my opponent's army? And if I don't see my opponent's army, I'm going to dive. The difference here is that red is being sneaky about it. And, sorry, blue is being sneaky and red is not. But both players have an unkillable army at the opponent's base right now. Yeah, blue kills one villager being sneaky behind the wood line. Doesn't want to dive in for some reason. And great comeback here from red. There's a lot of idle time here for blue. Blue's still producing crossbows all the time. But blue, you've got to run in here, buddy. Now for red, you've got some scorpions there as well. He might be panicking now, and let's see what type of damage blue can do. And crossbowmen can just deny the gold. They could just sit there if they need to. What I like to do in those situations is I like to sit there. Well, he's distracted with something, clearly. But I like to sit there on the gold, on attack, on stand ground. And then I can just do whatever else I need to do for a moment at home. Instead of leaving them on attack stance, because they'll follow the villagers past the TC or into the TC. Well, here he's got a micro. And then the good news for blue when he sees red's army here is that he'll know that red's not going to have a whole lot on the front. And what I'd like to see is a castle here then. You drop the castle there, that way you're able to get your golds back and take the tower down. And this is the best time to do it, because if you wait till after you lose your army, then you have some massive problems. And oh. You're not really going to buy yourself much time here, blue. If you run this way, then it takes red a longer time to kill you, but that's just an army donation right there. And now red's going to come forward immediately, and there is a lot of potential for Poop Sniffer to run forward with that army. Where's your castle going to go, blue? You've got enough stone for it. And there he goes. He's going to drop it there. That definitely doesn't free up the gold in the way that I would love. But I think it's just a safe position. You also see resources being sold to get a little bit more gold. That also rhymed. Not bad. I mean, this is so relaxed for blue. Yeah, you know, I just lost my whole army. But I'm fine. Is he fine? I don't know if he's actually fine here. I think he'll get the castle up, don't get me wrong. But this is giving red time with more map control. Good aggression from red. Eagles paying off certainly here. And the way I'm casting this, by the way, is I'm trying to like point out some small things that really make the difference between someone like, you know, a 1400 or 1600 or a 1600 or a 2K. And occasionally maybe even like a 600 and a 1200. I don't know. But I think regardless of how like good you are at the game, it's important for me that you as a viewer understand like kind of game theory and positioning and controlling the game. That's one of the big things I'm always talking about is controlling the game with army positioning. It's like this crazy chess match. And this whole castle, man, this whole thing could have been stopped. Well, it could have been avoided is what I meant to say, because the castle's been stopped. It's been stopped at 77%. And blue's looking at his screen right now just like, what? It was the perfect plan to drop a castle here. 35-3 eco KD for red. He's dropping TC number 3 now. And now red actually has the eco lead. And blue does a casual eco upgrade check here and realizes the wood upgrade hasn't been in. That's a little embarrassing. But needs to complete this castle and oh. Or, you know, you just resign. Wow. Okay, so it was an interesting game here. I think you know, I don't spend a lot of my time casting 1600 elo, and I so easily find myself looking at these players who have a lot of skill, and I think what could have been and what, you know, you could have tweaked and done a little bit differently. So it came off maybe a little bit more like coaching than I maybe wanted it to. But for blue, I'm going to tell you what solves this problem and takes this game late for you. And it wasn't that long ago in this game. And there's like a couple different moments of recognition, actually. Let's actually just review 2 various points in this game. Okay, so right now, red and blue both have big armies, right? And it's not really important for this example to say which army can contest the other. But it's important to note that, like, they both move forward with their armies, okay? So, you should know, like, red should know blue's got an army of crossbows, blue should know red's got an army of eagles, right? And so, from blue's perspective, blue now sees there's red's army, okay? Now, I already talked about this, but it's going to lead me into the next point, which is why I think blue ended up losing this game. And so, if you see this and you continue to go forward, which is good, you're talking bash this person in the face, fight him as quickly as possible, make him pay with this much army. Because he sent everything he's got, or at least, like, you know, most of what he's got forward. So if he does that, you're doing the right thing to leave crossbowmen home to deal with that. But you don't want to be sneaky behind the wood line. So I think, like, that was kind of the first thing. Now, some of you are going to be thinking, well, T90, it's hard to judge that. And I bet you if I tried to run in blue situation, I'd lose everything to, like, 30, 40 eagles. Well, remember, the game here, or the goal here is to have a little bit of game sense on the situation. And based on how the whole game was developing, you should know that that's a sizable force from red. That's the majority of what he's got, right? So I think that was really the first thing from blue. Because I think had he just tried to break through the palisades, he's already engaging against these eagles. And those 7 or so eagles are either running away or they're dying. And then you're denying the opponent's gold earlier. But good job from red to just, like, dive in. Like, there was no hesitation from red. Red was like, hey, you don't have an army here? I don't know where you are, but great, I'm just going to fight you, right? Okay, but let's go to this. Okay, so this moment in the game. Now, red had an army in your base. He leaves your base. And this is because of your defense, but this is also probably because of your offense here, right? So in this moment, you don't really see an army. And you're winning this fight. So if you're winning this fight, the logical, like, situational thing for red to do is he's bringing home everything else, right? So blue doesn't know right now. Blue doesn't have enough for a castle right now. Let's watch this. So we go to this moment. Good micro from blue. It's very good so far. The situation's, that's just perfect, in my opinion. You've killed a lot of eagles, and now you brought the army back. Okay. Now, guys, can anyone tell me if there's a hole here? I wonder... You know, my judgment of this situation might be a bit wrong, because I'm not sure if there's a hole behind here. Hold on a second. Is there a palisade? No, there's no palisade. I believe there's a hole there. Is there a house there? No, there's a hole. Okay, so let's assume he knew that was open. When he takes this engagement... Okay, so here this is a complicated fight to take. What you want now is your gold, and he clearly wants that castle. So you accept this army's going to die, but you make red fight for it, and you run all along here. Even if you're not even fighting, you just running through his base and staying away from your own base to give yourself time to build the castle is huge. I still think, like, obviously he loses this army. Obviously he didn't make red really fight for it. I still think that castle could go up if he just builds it with everything. But mistakes were made. A little too casual there for blue. Maybe he's a big Doubt fan. And anyways, I hope people enjoyed that cast. Good to cast 1600 elo at times. The comeback potential's higher. We see some different strats. So we saw Drush Fast Castle, basically. Bit of Archer Tower action. And we got to say some interesting names, too. So I guess that's fun. Our base is diving with archers into someone's base is always a really tricky call. Yeah, it is. And I think, like, that's why I wanted to talk about why I felt like diving there was better. Because it can get your mind thinking about it. I've played and watched so many games. I've had to do a lot of it in-game with experience. And you as a player may need to do that as well. So But instead of like looking at it like, oh, I just lost my archers in his base, he had army. After that happens to you, you can think, what didn't I sense? What didn't I see? What surprised me about the fact that he had army there? Because the goal, granted, we don't have a bird's eye view. The goal is to kind of have a feel the flow of the game, right? That's what I'm trying to get for you guys. Whether you're like 800 elo, 1100 elo, or you play against AI, having an understanding of what is probably going to result from X, Y, or Z is kind of what my passion is. So anyways, GG. Not every day that you see a player lose the game while collecting more resources, though I suppose in a Mayans Incas matchup, the Inca player having more gold obviously played a pretty big role there.